build hotels, animals, people, boats, skyscrapers, and more. So kids, get your Lego set now at department and toy stores everywhere.
John Kraemer isn't an architect, but he's probably built more buildings than a lot of real architects. The only difference? John's buildings are made entirely out of Legos.
Yeah, it actually holds up pretty good. I've had a 15, 20-pound cat sitting on it.
They're not life-size, but they're a whole lot bigger than anything you'll find at a toy store.
I spend 2.5 months, give or take, and I build a massive Catholic parish cathedral of my own design out of Lego bricks, those tiny little interlocking bricks that are fun to step on.
And each one of his models takes a lot of those bricks, some 30,000. His latest church was about 4 feet long and over 2 feet tall, just barely big enough to fit in a vehicle. Every year, John builds a new church of his own design, displays it at parishes and nursing homes in the Saginaw, Michigan area, and then tears it down and starts all over again. He's been doing this for nearly 2 decades so far, with no plans to slow down.
As I've been prone to say, I build the faith one brick at a time.
You're listening to CNA Newsroom, and I'm your host, Jonah McKeown. Many of us grew up playing with Legos during childhood, but admittedly, few people continue on through adulthood. For John, his love of Legos led him to try and find his own niche.
It kind of grew up from the fact that my friends were building spaceships, and I was not good at that. And of course, growing up at that time period for me, church was the core of who we were. Family time was the core of who we were. So there was a strong emphasis on that, and I kind of developed it from there.
And what started as a hobby blossomed into so much more. His first official display of one of his Lego churches was at St. Helens Parish, now called Christ the Good Shepherd, in Saginaw. Since then, he's toured loads of parishes and nursing homes, showing off his giant Lego models. He's always greeted warmly and fields a lot of questions, which he's happy to answer. As anyone who's ever played with Legos will know, it's not the world's most durable building material, and accidents can and do happen.
I've almost tilted the project wrong a couple times, where I've almost sent it into the floor. During the transport, I've had problems where I've knocked out windows and stuff, where it came back from one parish here in Saginaw during season 20 where the bell tower was smashed. It's like 20 minutes later I had it fixed. It's not the end of the world.
Each of the churches is of John's own design, but he says he tries to make his models as realistic as possible, and many are inspired by real church buildings he's visited.
Each day I can work on it from 2 to 5 hours, sometimes more depending on what's going on, and I can get a lot accomplished because I'm able to put that focus in. But at the same time, I can use that time as I'm building with my hands to put my heart into it and pray while I'm doing it.
John has a mild form of cerebral palsy, which affects his learning, his balance, his hearing, and his fine motor control.
I'm prone to falling very easily, especially even walking short distances. I have learning difficulties as well, which kind of makes the things that I do even more impressive in the fact that I'm not any kind of trained architect or anything like that.
Another factor, John doesn't drive, so he's had to rely on the kindness of others to ferry him and his models all over Michigan. He's also had to battle a series of illnesses over the years and other hurdles, such as his mom's cancer diagnosis last year.
But by the grace of God, I'm still able to do this, and I have a deep thanks, a sense of gratitude for those who have supported me over the years. It really does mean a lot to me.
John's churches aren't merely an expression of his creativity. Each one not only tells a story, but also sends a message about the things he values.
I believe that our society is very diverse, and I think that we can do more to represent that And that's part of a goal that I have within my own work.
Being a disabled person himself, John takes extra care to include depictions of parishioners with special needs, using items such as wheelchairs and guide dogs. John is super passionate about advocating for people with disabilities, and one topic in particular that he's been highlighting recently is transportation to Mass. As we mentioned, John can't drive, so he has to rely on the kindness of others, and that's generally worked out well for him over the years. But there are many people who simply don't have a ride to Mass, and that's a problem.
So it is a challenge and it's a struggle for many of us who have a deep desire to attend Mass in person, or more so if that person is elderly and they don't have family in the church anymore. My parents in particular used to take an older lady to Mass all the time because she didn't have anyone else. She didn't have any kids. She didn't have any family close by. My parents were her ride to Mass. So in many ways, while I am blessed, others are struggling, and that's something I feel the need that we need to change within our culture and within the church. I believe it's an area of evangelization that is very much overlooked.
John loves showing off his work, especially to kids, as you can imagine.
The kids love it. The kids will hover around it, and they'll see the bells that are actually in the towers. They'll try and ring them, which is fine. But they see something around there that really gets them going because it's Lego, it's bright, it's bold. They love it.
But he says that beyond the novelty and the fun of his Lego creations, he hopes that people, especially adults, will see and understand the deeper motivations for such a labor-intensive project.
Particularly with the older generation, they see something of themselves inside my work. Whether it be a Knights of Columbus figure that's standing tall on the ready, someone in the wheelchair, they see themselves sitting inside the church. It brings back a memory, perhaps. It brings comfort to their hearts a little bit. When they see my work, I hope that it inspires them on a deep level to understand the value of the Mass. My projects are filled to the brim with people on purpose. That is not by accident. It is not a reflection to me of the past, but a prayer for the future. I'm not sure how it is in other areas, but I know that our attendance numbers have been going down for a long time. And I believe that the laity have an opportunity to be encouragements to others, to have them come back, to make the Mass more of a priority than what it is. But also, too, from the disability aspect, I'm showing that no matter what challenge, whether it be medical, emotional, or whatnot, no matter what challenge or disability you face, God can still use your talents. That is a message that I have been broadcasting on for 22 years because I live it. I've got cerebral palsy. I'm the last person on this earth that I would ever expect to be sitting here talking about the faith in the most creative way possible. It's a humbling experience to know that I'm doing something amazing that people are enjoying, and it's something that I don't take for granted. When I can do a display and someone is just like totally amazed, they may be having a rough day and they have a smile on their face, then I know I'm doing something right.
CNA Newsroom is a production of Catholic News Agency and a service of EWTN News. I'm your host, Jonah McKeown. I produce and edit this show with the help of our executive producer, Kate Oliveira. A very special thanks to John Kraemer, aka the Lego Church Guy, for joining us. We hope you have a very blessed last few days of Advent and, of course, a very Merry Christmas. And by the way, this is our last episode of CNA Newsroom for 2021. Our next episode will be 2 weeks from today on January 3rd. Until then, thank you so much for listening and making 2021 a fantastic year for our podcast. As always, we'd really appreciate it if you could rate and review this podcast on your app, especially if you use Apple Podcasts. It only takes a few moments of your time, but good ratings and reviews help other listeners find our show. And also, we just really enjoy reading them. Thank you all again, and a very Merry and Blessed Christmas to all of you.
Hey, kids, look! A whole new world to build. 'Cause Lego is here.